Donald Trump is putting the finishing touches on a terrorism and immigration policy speech he will deliver in Ohio later today. Now, this comes as his campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, continues to deny any ties to Russia. The New York Times claims $12.7 million in undisclosed cash payments were earmarked for Manafort by the political party of the pro-Russian former Ukrainian president.
Manafort responded today in a statement saying, quote, "The suggestion that I accepted cash payments is unfounded, silly, and nonsensical."
Here with us to break down all things politics is CBS News political contributor Mark Leibovich. Mark is also the chief national correspondent for the New York Times Magazine. Good to have you back, Mark.
Good to be back, Lev.
All right, so these new reports of Trump's campaign manager, Paul Manafort, possibly receiving $12 million from people connected to the pro-Russian former president of the Ukraine. So Manafort is dismissing all of this. He's put out a statement. Is there anything to be parsed out in that statement?
A little bit. I mean, he is saying that he did not receive the money. I mean, look, anytime your name appears on a mysterious ledger in the middle of Kiev somewhere, it's not a great look, right? I mean, you just don't know. I mean, did he not receive the money? Did a sympathetic party receive the money? Was it not in cash? I mean, there's a lot of parsable stuff in there. I mean, I think the big takeaway is it adds to a web of uncertainty, intrigue, and questions about who this guy is. And no aide like him wants to be the focus of attention, especially a presidential election at this point in the game.
And so here we are again talking about something other than policy, right? Now it's not Donald Trump doing it, but this is another distraction. And I'm wondering, the Wall Street Journal had this editorial that said, listen, if things don't change by Labor Day, I suggest the Republican Party, forget about him, like just focus on the down ballot. Do you predict that anything will change by Labor Day? It's just a couple weeks away.
Well, I mean, we've seen again and again that Trump is not really capable of changing, of pivoting, of sort of professionalizing or traditionalizing his campaign. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think what you've seen in the last couple of weeks is just a momentum towards, if not abandonment, certainly great anxiety among Republicans. And, the Clinton campaign has been there trying to just catch all of the sort of falling Republicans from the Trump camp and say, look, I can be acceptable to you too. I mean, there are a ton of mainstream Republicans in the suburbs of Philadelphia and Cleveland and, these big swing states that I think are ripe for the picking, and I think she's fully aware of that.
So Donald Trump continues to insinuate that the November election is going to be rigged. He's asking for Trump volunteers to be at polling places. Specifically, he talked about Pennsylvania. He's now attacking the press. It seems that some of the things that worked for him during the primaries, attacking his opponents, he's trying to pivot and do that with the press, with our very democracy. But that's not going to work, is it?
It's never worked in the past. I mean, he's not the first Republican, especially to criticize the press and to say, I've been unfair, people are biased against me, the press is biased against me. It's more background noise than sort of a prime message. But he spent yesterday tweeting all day about our story and other people's stories and how the media ignores it. I mean, that's not a winning thing. I mean, it's sort of a little sort of offhanded grievance you might want to throw out there here and there. But and the other thing about the rigged election thing, I mean, I don't see that being a reason to vote for him.
But what a lot of people worry about is Trump volunteers intimidating people at polling places. Could that happen?
I think it could. I don't think it'll be an organized effort. I don't think there's going to be any sort of specific training on how to monitor poll sites and so forth. I assume the various authorities will be very mindful of sort of safeguarding against that. But look, I mean, again, I think it's a very destructive way of talking about this. It's the kind of thing that can sort of bake into the system a resentment, a distrust that's already there, even after the election. It sort of would serve to delegitimize the end result, even now. And it sort of smacks of pre-sore loserdom to some degree. So, I don't think it's going to get him any votes. I mean, I don't see a lot of people sort of sitting around saying, oh, yeah, well, I better vote for Donald Trump because otherwise the election will be rigged against him. I mean, it's just not really a winning message.
So let's talk about the big speech today that he's going to be having, right? He's going to be talking about immigration and security. And one of the things that he promises to call for is a geographically focused immigration suspension in those places with a history of exporting terrorism and where adequate screening cannot be performed. So he's continuing to sort of fine fine-tune the ban
Right.
concept. Is this something you think is likely to help him, or what?
It's not new. I mean, it's
Right.
not a new message for him. I mean, again, it's all in the details. I mean, like, what does proper screening mean? Is that like, it's all like Donald Trump is going to personally like see like whether people have been properly screened?
Well, that's one of the things
how do you screen for ideology?
Well, that's what he talked about, right?
It's like you're conscious.
Right.
Right. And what counts for like a country that has fostered or where training has gone on? I mean, does that include France?
Belgium?
Exactly.
Belgium.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it sounds like he's going to make a lot of the same points that he's made before, maybe to try to focus attention on this part of the message. Again, it's not exactly a general election message. It's the kind of thing that, got him a lot of support in the primaries. But again, as we've said many times, this is not a primary campaign anymore, and he has not adjusted, the way I think a lot of people think he should.
He sees crowds at his rallies. He saw them during the primary. He imagines that is the general electorate, when clearly the numbers are showing that it is not.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, like, you see, there have been a lot of losing campaigns in history that have had very big crowds. At this stage of the game, later in the game, I mean, it's not a leading indicator by any stretch, and it's emblematic of the kind of feedback loop that Trump operates in. I mean, he'll go into a big arena, he'll hear 10,000 people cheering for him, he'll think, aha, I've got something here. He'll then go onto his plane or go back home or something and watch the cable clips of people cheering for him and say, aha, look, the enthusiasm, look how the TV is capturing my enthusiasm or not. Then he talks to the same, group of people, many of them related to him, who are going to, inherit a lot of money from him. They tell him how great he is, and that's, so that's sort of his critical thinking, his body of sort of like feedback, and it doesn't really help nurture or grow a candidate in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
So.
Mark Leibovich, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Barr.